welcome to the Morgan Medicare Minute. My name is Nicole Morgan, and I'm the owner of Morgan Medicare Solutions, and I have a really good show for you today. I have in the studio with me, all the way from Fort Worth, is Andrew Saul, who is a carrier rep, an insurance carrier rep with Physicians Mutual, and so happy to have you on the show. And so I want you to tell everybody, as a carrier rep with Physicians Mutual, what is your role? And we're talking today all about Medicare supplements.
Yes.
As many questions as we can come up with in an hour or less about Medicare supplements. So tell everybody who you are and your experience and with Physicians Mutual.
Perfect. Yeah. So thank you for having me on today, Nicole. This is wonderful, and I'm so excited to do it. As you said, I'm Andrew Saul. I'm a carrier rep. I'm a regional sales director for a Medicare supplement carrier, Physicians Mutual. This is my decade year with the carrier.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
10 years. That's a long time.
It is. But when you give your life or your heart into a business like it's a ministry, it just passes.
That's right.
So that's
kind
of
it's not work.
Well, okay, sometimes, but mostly, yes, mostly you're right.
It doesn't feel like work sometimes.
No, it's not that bad.
When you love it.
Yeah, you for sure have to love the industry and the people in the industry. One of the most taken advantage of groups of people outside of children in the United States right now are seniors. So it's so important then to be educated on this topic, because, it doesn't matter whether you're a physician or you were a banker. Nobody knows anything about Medicare till they turn 65 and realize, whoa, what am I supposed to do?
Nobody prepares you for that in retirement. So it comes at a really busy time of life. You're retiring, you're not going to work anymore, and then you've got to have health insurance that you know nothing about, and the government actually didn't prepare you for it.
And if you don't choose it when you're first eligible, unless you got a unique reason, you get penalized for life. Yes. So that's a pretty good encourager
that's not fair.
Figure something out.
Yeah. So, all right. So that said, I want you to kind of give us an update on the Medicare supplement market. We're going to get into, what a Medicare supplement is, but it is an option that you can choose in Medicare. But, I want you to kind of tell us about what's happening in that market. And then we were talking earlier about, our new administration and all past administrations. And so kind of give us your take on and what you know in the research and industry.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Nicole. So kind of to talk about Medicare supplement, you have to talk about Medicare in general. So right now, Medicare is one of the hottest topics in the news. For instance, Medicaid especially.
That's right.
But really the under 65 Medicaid is the one that we're seeing affected right now. Medicare by itself in the news is a hot topic, because really, it doesn't matter whose administration's in. You're going to hear so-and-so wants to cut Medicare. Medicare will be done.
Time.
Absolutely.
Is Medicare going to go away?
Listen, Medicare ain't going nowhere. I don't care if you bleed red, blue. I don't care what color you bleed. Medicare is phenomenal.
We're not meaning to get political, but
absolutely not.
Medicare is not going away.
Not going anywhere. And it's phenomenal. It shouldn't go anywhere. It's one of the most precious things that our country does bring to the table, because it's helping the people who are in need. There's 3 different people who are eligible for Medicare. There's an age in, someone 65 or older, right? There's someone who's been disabled for 2 years plus. They're eligible for Medicare. So you might see someone under 65 on Medicare. And then someone who's got a diagnosis of either ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's, or end-stage renal disease. So it's a great government health insurance program that fits a niche of the population, which for the United States is over 30% of the population. So you got to think to yourself, to cut or kill Medicare would be political suicide. Because now not only are you touching the voter base that votes more often than anyone else, shows up in greater numbers, that's 30+% of the population. And then you're talking about people's jobs as well. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, no.
Medicare's not going anywhere.
I'm confident in that arena that it's not going to go away. So I want to describe. So I said Medicare is supplement is an option. So there's a glossary of terms before we get into what it is. So a Medigap is the same thing as a supplement.
Correct. Medicare
They're the same
supplement.
Term.
Correct. Same exact term.
Right. or it can be referred to sometimes as a secondary to Medicare.
Correct. Operates that way.
This is not a plan that is contracted with Medicare, meaning they have it works with Medicare.
Correct.
So tell us in your words what a Medicare supplement is and how it works, because there's a bunch of letters out there that you can buy, and Medicare has their letters, and then the supplement world has their letters.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us what a Medicare supplement is and how it works with Medicare.
Yeah, so a Medicare supplement, and this is kind of a cheesy way to describe it, it's a type of insurance policy that supplements your out-of-pockets on traditional Medicare. A Medigap, which is the same thing, by the way, is a type of insurance policy that fills in the gaps of original Medicare. So original Medicare has these major out-of-pockets for anything billable to Part A or Part B. Part A and B make up traditional Medicare.
Right,
original
and Part
Medicare.
A is hospital. Part B is what's considered medical insurance, which is all of your outpatients. So anytime you go to the doctor, anytime you go to a therapy session, anytime of medical procedure test, that's covered under Medicare Part B. And then A is just hospital.
Yeah, and like hospice, that would fall under Part A. But yes, that's 100% correct.
Yep.
So you got traditional Medicare A and B. Both A and B have out-of-pockets or deductibles, co-pays on Part A, and co-insurance on Part B that Medicare itself does not cover. So either
you would cover it.
You could be the secondary.
Or you could fill in the gap.
Yes, ma'am. You're
with
getting it.
A Medicare supplement.
I think you did that.
Yeah.
That's correct. Or you can fill in the gap by taking an insurance carrier that takes your place and pays those out-of-pockets for you so you don't have to.
Very good.
That's correct.
Yeah. So some people get we all do. Let's just say it's all confusing and get the terminology confused. Yeah. And so
understandably,
there's only two options of Medicare that someone can choose. And so I always like to address this too, because it always gets brought up, is it the same thing as a Medicare Advantage? So I only want to touch on this really quickly and not to confuse the issue, because there's other stuff I want to talk about with supplements. But is a supplement the same thing as a Medicare Advantage plan?
No, they're not. Medicare supplements are secondary policies, insurance policies to traditional Medicare. A Medicare Advantage plan is a type of insurance policy that replaces your traditional Medicare benefits. Very key in that,
replaces Medicare, meaning that insurance carrier is going to handle all the claims and not Medicare itself. So when you have a Medicare supplement, Medicare pays first and your supplement pays second. Okay. So what are some of the most popular supplements out there?
Yeah. So if we're looking for plan type.
And I'm going to just say this, is that supplements are called plans.
Yes.
You have
parts.
You have parts of Medicare, but you have supplement plans.
Yes.
So get that terminology
thank you, federal government. So you've got parts A, B, C, and D, which make up Medicare as a whole. And then you've got plans A through N.
Yes. So we're not going to talk about all of those.
Of course not. Yeah. Of course not. So about a decade ago, the most popular plan in the nation would either be a Plan C or a Plan F. The federal government, January 1st of 2020, law comes through. It's called MACRA, Medicare's Reauthorization Act. You can look up on it. It removed the option for Plan C and Plan F for anyone who is newly eligible for Medicare 1/1/20 or beyond. Right.
Okay.
So you may find somebody
January 1st, 2020.
Correct. You may find someone still on a Plan C or Plan F, and it's because they were eligible for Medicare before that date. Right. All right. Since then, the most popular plan that's rose, and it's still the most popular, it's a Plan G.
Okay. So how does the G cover you?
Excellent question. Okay. So anything billable to Part A or inpatient on traditional Medicare, you're covered 100% on Plan G. You have no out-of-pocket. Anything billable to Part B, which you coined as outpatient, that's very good.
Yeah.
You have no out-of-pocket, excluding a one-time annual deductible that Medicare sets. This year, that deductible is $257. Or in other words, if you had to come out of pocket $257, for the rest of the year, anything billable to Medicare A and B that they approved, you're covered 100%.
Right.
You have
so there's no copays. No. So Medicare Part B only covers 80%.
Correct. After your deductible.
So a G plan, a supplement, Medigap, will cover the remainder 20% after you have paid to Medicare. So the supplement itself, a standard, let's call it a standard plan G. Okay.
Perfect.
It doesn't have a deductible.
Right. Correct.
It does, but Medicare Part B does.
Correct.
$257. So once you pay that on a standard plan G, you pay that to Medicare, $257, which is set in 2025. Then the plan G gets billed and pays the remainder 20%. No copays.
Correct.
No coinsurance.
Correct. Yeah. You're paying. So whatever out of pocket you have, if it adds up to a maximum for the year of 257, going to doctors, going to ambulatory surgical centers, having some outpatient something done, the max exposure you have this year, as long as it's approved by Medicare,
right.
$257.
Yeah.
And then your Medicare supplement or Medigap fills in the gaps.
So that's why it is probably one of the most popular.
Absolutely.
Because Medicare pays, you pay your little deductible, and then the supplement pays.
Yeah.
So that's why it's most popular.
It's not necessarily the least expensive.
No.
But it's the most popular.
So talking about that, good segue. Let's talk about when you're shopping.
Sure.
So when you're turning 65 or you're going on Medicare for the first time, okay, when is the best time to enroll in a Medigap plan?
Fabulous question. So if I want to quote CMS or Medicare directly from their Medicare and You book.
Yes, which everyone wants to read.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All 168 or so pages of it. If I'm to quote exactly what CMS says the best time to take a Medicare supplement or Medigap policy is when you're first eligible at 65.
Okay, why is that?
Well, because there is no underwriting. You know when
Okay, let's explain what underwriting is.
Excellent question.
For our audience. Underwriting is answering health questions. So
Yes.
when we talk about pre-existing conditions, there's no underwriting. Nobody's going to ask if you have cancer.
Correct.
Nobody's going to ask if you have end-stage renal disease.
Correct.
No one's going to ask that. So it's what? Guaranteed issue. No underwriting?
No underwriting, right. So underwriting exactly like you worded. The carrier, an insurance carrier, can ask you questions to decide whether they want to take your business on as a client. That's underwriting. See, when you're first eligible for Medicare, if you're aging in at 65, right? Within 6 months of starting Part B of Medicare, you're in, this is a glossary term, what's known as your Medicare supplement open enrollment period.
Yes, that's
right?
6 months from the date of your Part B.
Thank you. Yes. So as soon as Part B starts, your counter, your ticker starts ticking down. You've got 6 months for this Medicare open enrollment
no
period.
health questions.
No health questions
So
whatsoever.
that could be when you're 65, but it also can be when you're over 65, coming off of group health, retiring, and you get that Part B for the very first time.
That's correct. That's correct.
So that's what that Part B date is really critical for the Medicare supplement enrollment period. 6 months.
Yes. So, quick tip then, if you're aging into Medicare and you're going to stay on your group plan and your group has at least 20 or more enrollees, it might behoove you then to delay enrollment in Part B, which is super easy. You just don't sign the back of your Medicare card, send it back in. You can keep Part A, assuming you're not contributing to an HSA.
That question is on the Medicare application.
Yes, absolutely.
That you can access and to apply on your SSA.gov account. So if you don't have an SSA.gov account, do you have one?
I do. Everyone should have it.
Everyone should have an SSA, and it doesn't mean that you're signing up for Social Security.
Correct.
It just means that you have an online account.
Correct.
So
everyone
needs one.
It's the ID me or something like that is how you get into it. Or login.gov.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I have login.gov. Do you
I think
have
I got
ID
the ID. Yeah.
Okay.
Super cool.
Yeah. But okay, so when you're ready to get a supplement, you've got your Medicare A and B, and then so how do we shop? So I know on Medicare.gov, I'm just going to throw this out there. It has rates on there of various companies. I don't think it. I've looked on there. I've gotten on Medicare.gov. It's not always, accurate. It doesn't show every company in your area. I think people are really searching for, they want to see a list of all the pricing. And really brokers like myself, and like you know what's available out there. And we have tools that provide us that information. But there's so many options and there's so many prices.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what are some tips that someone can take with them when they're turning 60 or getting on the first time, Medicare on the first time, to shop for a supplement?
Excellent question. So you've got a few options, and I'm a little biased, but you got a few options. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, as a carrier rep who has a website where a enrollee could come in and self-enroll into their own Medicare supplement policy, that is the very slim minority of people. Yeah. And in fact, even as a carrier rep, that's probably not what I would recommend unless you were highly versed and educated on the topic of Medicare already.
So you're saying it's good to see an educated, well-versed broker that sells Medicare plans to help someone make that wise decision.
Yes. So if you don't self-enroll, you've really got two options. You can either use what's called a ship counselor, which is someone who essentially works for free, that is not licensed in their not necessarily licensed with a health and life license, and also has no E&O coverage to cover you in the
that's
effect
errors and omissions. That's protection. I have to have that.
Correct. And you have to pay for it.
And I pay for it every year to protect me if I make a big mistake.
So if something goes wrong and there's a lawsuit, your error and omissions will pay out. Where a ship counselor doesn't have that. You can't go after them for some lawsuit.
And there are times where I have, ship counselors have come into play and they've been helpful. So I don't want to steer anybody away because they're a part of the Area Agency on Aging. I've done a lot of work with them in the past. So that is an option that they can use.
Correct.
And but me as a broker and as a business owner, an agency owner, it's no charge to see me as well.
Correct. Not only is it no charge, now they have your number. And for something, because let me tell you something, and it's usually in a prescription. If something's going to go wrong, it's probably going to be in a prescription at some point. And they need to have someone they trust that, number one, they know is educated on the subject, that they're familiar with.
And they like them.
That they can call to go to battle for them. Because let me tell you something. The worst feeling ever is when you have to fight City Hall. If y'all know what I mean by that, you got to fight it by yourself. Good luck. You need an agent to represent you as an benefits advisor with the topic of Medicare, who knows what they're talking about, knows who to call. Let me ask you this. So I work for a carrier. Who do you think has an easier time navigating a problem if something arises with the Medicare supplement company that I represent? Someone who doesn't have my personal cell phone number, an agent who's never talked to me and has to call 1-800 customer service, or someone like you, Nicole, that literally has my personal cell phone number. You text me and call me and I get stuff done.
That's right.
That's why it's so vital to use an agent who not only has experience, is educated, but has connections with the companies that they represent and believes in why they represent who they do.
That's right. So, and you're very right. You gotta know your carrier reps. And so, but if I don't like the term Susie Senior, but I'm a senior. I'm almost a senior. Not really. Not really. But let's say I was. Okay. So there's all these carriers out there. To choose from, and all these prices. Okay. So what if there's a cheap one? Okay. And then there's a really expensive one for the exact same coverage. Let's say we're shopping for a plan G. Okay. And we've got company A that says it's one price and it's really cheap. And we've got company B that's middle of the road. And then we have company C that's really expensive. Okay. They're all different carriers. How am I supposed to choose?
Isn't that the question of the hour?
It is. It is. How am I supposed to choose? This is why a broker, an educated broker, is so important to use. And I know my clients feel strongly about it. I'm a referral only agency. So how am I supposed to choose? What would you say to me?
Good question. Let me give you my thoughts and the logic behind my thoughts.
Okay.
So let me start off by saying this. Across the nation, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different Medicare supplement charters or underwriters or carrier names, all right?
Okay.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So let's say, and I'm just shooting from the hip, this is not correct. Let's say there's 500 of them. How do you determine which of the 500 we go with? Well, let me give you some what I would recommend you look into, or you ask your agent or your broker before you go, with just whoever they're suggesting. Because number one, if they're just suggesting a carrier, something's wrong. There has to be some kind of education on their end, asking you questions of back and forth before they recommend someone. Because listen, if God forbid, if your client's on hospice, or if whoever's enrolling is on hospice, maybe they've got 6 months to a year left. I am absolutely pointing at whoever the cheapest carrier that you can get on who would provide you with the most comprehensive coverage.
Right.
So everyone's
different. Everyone is unique. Everyone is an individual. So you cannot, what is good for one person may not be good for the next person.
Correct. So outside of a situation like that, we use Texas as an example. So I know a lot of your listeners may have heard this language before. There's certain state rules out there like birthday rule or anniversary rule.
Now, let's explain that.
Sure.
Let's take a minute. We'll come back to pricing. But a birthday rule in the Medicare supplement world means?
It means that every year on your birthday, and usually 60 to 61 days beyond that, every Medicare supplement company has to offer you the exact same plan type that you chose.
Right.
So
making a lateral move.
Correct. If you're on a Plan G with this carrier,
you go to a Plan G with the next one.
They have to offer that plan available to you within that 60 to 61 day period with no underwriting. Now, that's not the majority of states.
Texas is not one of them.
Correct. There's only a handful of states right now that are offering either a birthday rule or an anniversary rule.
What's an anniversary rule?
So instead of on your birthday you having that window, it's on your anniversary when you started your Medicare supplement.
So if I started it in June, it would be
correct. Not when you got married, but when you started your Medicare supplement.
Right.
So outside of a state like that, because Texas does not have that, and I don't know if you know this, right now Texas is the largest Medigap state in the nation. There are more Medicare supplement members in the state of Texas, by and large, than any other state in the nation. I think Florida's second.
It is.
Yeah, Texas
I looked
is
that
number
up right before we came.
Oh,
yes.
very cool.
So
very
good for
cool.
me.
Yeah, cool. Congratulations.
Yeah,
so
Florida's second.
What then would the normal, regular senior, someone aging into Medicare, what would I recommend that they look to before they purchase a plan? Let's talk about Plan G, for instance. If they know they want a Plan G, what would I recommend they do? Well, a few things you need to be educated on. The first thing, the reason why I never recommend the cheapest probably isn't the right word, the lowest premium Plan G in your zip code or in your area. Usually, if you're able to offer a premium that the largest Medicare supplement carrier in your state can even compete with, we're talking 30, 40% cheaper than that premium. There should be some bells or some red flags that go off that in your mind that say, how can this carrier I've never heard of before, because it's almost exclusively a carrier that's a no name, you've never heard of them before. How can they bring something to the market that the largest carriers in the nation can't compete with? It would be the same question I would have if I'm going to a store to buy my groceries and I'm finding groceries at this one store that Walmart, who right now I understand is the largest distribution center in the nation right now for groceries. They can't even compete with this store. Well, why? What is this store able to do that Walmart can't compete with?
How long can they be the most cost effective?
And they won't be. So what you will see with the cheapest carriers, the lowest premium Plan G carriers in your state at 65. This isn't necessarily true when you're in your 70s and 80s. That's a different story. But at 65, what you will see is those carriers we're going to have to explain what I'm about to say.
That's okay.
Will open and close their blocks of business every 3 to 4 years. And when that block closes, which I'll explain that language in just a second, those rates are going to double, triple in the next 4 or 5 years. We've seen this over and over. This is not something new. It's got a unique name to it, and it doesn't matter what it is.
So these companies turn over. It's not that they go away, but they
You still keep your policy,
right?
But you're paying $500 a month at 74 when your buddy's paying $230 a month.
So it's not
for
the cheapest for long.
Correct.
For long.
Correct.
So.
Now, once again, if you're going into hospice, if you know you're going to pass away in the first year or two of the policy, I probably would steer somebody that way.
Yeah. So if it's not the cheapest, now if that's all that you can afford, there, like I said, everybody's an individual. You have to dig down on what a person can reasonably afford, what their situation is, and then you've got the most expensive. So I think somebody needs to know all of their options.
Absolutely. If budget is a problem, maybe you don't look at a Plan G. Plan G is not for everybody.
Right.
Maybe you look at a Plan N.
Plan
Maybe
in
look
is
at
a
a
little
high
bit
deductible G.
right. So, yes, there is a high deductible that has a very low premium, but it's a high deductible forever.
Correct. So for a reason, it's a high deductible.
So what is that? A high deductible it changes.
It does. Medicare sets that number every year. Now, here's the positive. That number is based on CPI. So CPI is the Consumer Price Index, which we are going to find out in the third quarter of this year. In fact, that's what Part B premium's based on.
That's right.
What happens in the third quarter of the year with the Consumer Price Index. Probably going to be about a 2.8% raise, something like that.
Yeah. So right now it's 2870.
2,870. But remember, the beauty of a Medicare supplement, you're not the primary payer anymore. You're the secondary payer. So on a high deductible plan, traditional Medicare is billed first. They're the primary or the first payer. And then you've got a 2870 secondary deductible that you are the secondary payer to, which is unique because you've never had this option on a group plan before.
Yeah.
You're the primary payer on a group plan. Something new. Somebody cares about you. You got a husband now or a wife now, and they're taking care of you every day.
Yeah, exactly. But that high deductible is, you may have a cheap premium.
Correct.
But it's forever.
But you have a deductible for the rest of your life.
And it's going to adjust with Medicare every year.
That is correct.
Okay. And then you have a plan in. So let's explain a plan in.
Yeah. So what separates a plan in from a plan G, number one is going to be it is not as comprehensive coverage as a traditional plan G is.
Okay. Let's explain that.
So where a plan G, the only out-of-pocket you're going to have for the year for anything Medicare A and B approves is that Part B deductible. This year's $257, and Medicare sets that every year. A plan in will also have that out-of-pocket. It will also have out-of-pocket what are called Medicare excess fees. Means a physician who's chose to accept Medicare but not Medicare assignment. And those excess fees can be up to 15%.
That means the doctor can charge you 15% more than what Medicare is going to give them.
Correct.
So you'll get a little extra bill. Now, I know in my area that is not common amongst.
Not yet, for sure.
Yeah, it's not that common.
It's more common in the behavioral therapy arena right now.
Right, where people they'll accept your plan, but they're not taking Medicare assignment means that they have agreed to get whatever Medicare pays them.
Correct. They've agreed to their fee schedule.
So a way that someone can look up, and I know we're taking in a little rabbit trail here,
this is great.
A way that someone can look up if a doctor accepts Medicare assignment is by going to Medicare.gov and they look under providers and they can search their doctor's name. If there is a little $sign by that doctor's name, they accept Medicare assignment. Now, it will explain that they do accept Medicare assignment, but that's what I look for. I look for that little $sign. If there's a red question mark, you probably need to call the doctor's office.
Correct.
Just to verify.
Because that could be a surprise.
Right. So that's one way you can check to see if your doctor truly does take what Medicare gives them in payment. But then there's also some copays.
Correct.
On a plan in.
Yes. So if you go visit your doctor for something outside of a preventive visit or a specialist, you've got a $20 copay.
And it's at any doctor.
Correct.
It's not just specified for primary care.
Correct.
It's
could be a specialist.
Any doctor. $20.
Yeah. And then on the other end of a copay, if you were to go in the ER, you've got a $50 copay.
And that's this is how I explain it, is that if they treat you, there's nothing wrong with you, and they send you home.
Absolutely. Yeah. You start getting diagnosed, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
But that is correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
And these copays are not on the Plan G. Remember, the Plan G just has that Part B
no
deductible.
copays.
Right.
Plan N does.
Correct.
And then we have the high deductible. Now, I want to get into another type of plan, and I want you to explain it. We're going to come back. So, coming back to price, I want you to explain this other supplement that is available out there only through you. But, price, it's got to, you're really wanting something that is not going to raise your rates or, because you may get caught in a situation where you get into Medicare where you're really healthy, it's a guaranteed issue, and then something goes wrong catastrophically and you're not healthy anymore. Come on. And you still want that supplement and you can't get another supplement because you're not healthy. Remember we said that, there is going to be times where underwriting, health questions come into play. So if you're trying to get a lower Medicare supplement, you may not be able to pass health questions. So
That's
you
right.
may be stuck in that one supplement. So it's really
Yeah.
important to make a good decision the first time, like when you're renovating your house, you want to make good decisions when you do that so that it doesn't have to be fixed later on down the road. So spend the money now.
It's a good word.
Yeah, that's how I'm thinking right now since we're going through all that.
Yeah, so
But
I'll
do
speak
it right the
into
first
it.
time.
Yeah, I'll speak
Yeah.
right into it. Do it right the first time. That's
That's
just
right.
a really good word.
Yeah.
Because you never know, right?
You never
I have
know.
sat at the table with people who chose a Medicare supplement based on the cheapest price when they were 65. By the time they were 70, it had more than doubled.
Right.
And I've sat at that table as they cried, asking me to put them in a cheaper Medicare supplement
can't.
because the premium on that Medigap plan was outpacing significantly their Social Security raise. It was outpacing it, and they could no longer afford it. And as sad as that is, it is a reality for people. Maybe not for everyone, but I have sat at the table where it's happened. So you can't necessarily pick a Medicare supplement based on its first year premium. Here's the way I want you to think about it. When you're choosing a Medigap plan, you need to think from now to heaven. If the average age for a female to pass away is 81, and the average age for a male is 79, we're talking about what are you going to do for the next 14 to 16 years. It's not sustainable to choose whatever is the lowest premium Medigap and expect that plan to stay, the sustainability of that plan to have a premium that's the lowest premium still for the rest of your life of any other Medicare supplement out there. The reason it's the lowest upfront premium is because they want to bring in as much business as possible because their goal is to bring in as many people as possible, hoping that that will keep claims low. What claims is, I know I'm using some insurance language.
Right.
Claims is the amount of people who are using the policy.
Right. They're sick and they're
Perfect.
going to the doctor, they're having surgeries, they're in the hospital a lot. That causes claims.
Your Medicare supplement have to pay the bill,
They
right?
have to pay.
And the more the Medicare supplement is used, the more claims are coming in.
Right.
So the whole definition and understanding of insurance is spreading the risk. So the goal of the lowest premium Medicare supplement on the market is to gather as many people in the nation as possible so that they can hopefully keep their rates low. Well, that's just not reality. Not how it works.
No.
So when you're choosing Medicare supplement, I'm telling you, at least be educated on this. Price matters. The most expensive plan in the nation at 65 isn't necessarily going to be the cheapest for the rest of your life either.
No.
That's just where they have their plan priced. Price matters, but it's not the number one. It's not the number one reason to choose a Medicare supplement, right? Though I agree, price matters.
It does.
One of the strongest tells for how a Medicare supplement should follow the market, or one of the strongest tells for the sustainability of a Medicare supplement is probably the group size, or in other words, how many people are on the plan. So we just said the definition of insurance is spreading out risk. So the more people you have on a plan, or the larger the pool size is, if 2% of them have something catastrophic happen, well, if you got 15 million people on the plan, 2% isn't that big of a deal.
No.
If you've only got 1,500 on a plan and 2%
Then
have
it really matters.
now we've got a problem.
You're very open to rate
Yeah.
increases.
So pool size matters, right? Pool size
How
absolutely
many
matters.
lives are on the plan, basically?
Correct. That's what we're
Yeah.
looking for. Thank
many
you for
li-
making
how many
that a little
lives?
clear.
Yeah.
How many lives are on the plan? That's one of the first things I would look at.
Yeah.
The second things I would look at is how long has this plan been available in the market you're in? Because if it's some fly-by-night carrier or fly-by-night name, they're most likely, judging from my experience, not going to be available in the next 4 to 5 years.
Right. I've even had some carriers that are really big names that everybody knows. And they got into the supplement world, and now they're not.
Well, they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and because of that, they decided it was not sustainable for them to continue in this market.
right.
So we're seeing that as well.
So it's not just important for the consumer or the beneficiary to do some of their research, and sometimes we don't even, they don't even know where to go.
had no idea.
But it's really important for me as the broker to understand where it's going to go and what's happening in this world. So what you're kind of describing, you can't necessarily go with the cheapest.
Correct.
If it doesn't fit you, but you can't necessarily go with the most expensive. Why would you pay more for something? So
The same coverage.
What is a a middle of the road. And I don't really want to get into pricing per se, because it's going to be different for everybody in everybody's area. Okay. But there is a middle of the road. And I want you to explain what Physicians Mutual has.
Yes.
And what's called an innovative.
Yes. So one of the unique things about this carrier, it's the carrier that I've represented for the past decade. Now I'm a W-2 employee of them. So, take everything with a grain of salt, but do your research. Look it up yourself. Where everyone, every Medicare supplement carrier in the state of Texas that I know of offers some type of a Plan G. Usually it's a standard Plan G, which we talked about, has that one-time annual deductible, $257. Phenomenal plan. Most comprehensive coverage that you can have in Medicare right now if you're newly eligible to Medicare.
And comprehensive means, to me, is not what it covers. It's more of there's no out-of-pocket.
Correct.
So that
the
would be
least amount of out-of-pocket.
Least amount of out-of-pocket. So I don't want that to get confusing with the comprehensive that it. Because some people would think, it's referring to your out of pocket.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
On the opposite end of that spectrum, we talked about a high deductible G.
Right.
So if you offer a G, you offer a high deductible G as well. It's the same thing as a Plan G, except it has a secondary deductible, not Medicare's deductible. The Medicare supplement themselves, they have a deductible. Now that number is $2,870, but remember the value. Traditional Medicare. You go to the doctor, you go to the hospital. Traditional Medicare is your spouse. They pay for you. They pay first.
Yes.
And then once they run out of money, I'm being a little facetious, traditional Medicare can't run out of money. It's backed by the federal government. Then you pay up to a max exposure this year, $2,870, which for most people is not reality. I can tell you in my carrier's experience, at least year one on a high deductible, only about 3% of people hit that number. So $2,870 is not the norm for people. In fact, I would argue it's the opposite of the norm.
I don't think people, you have to actually look at your Medicare claims, and I had that opportunity. Yes. In fact, we did that today. I did that today with a client. So I said, go into your Medicare.gov account and look at your Medicare claims, because we were trying to shop for a new supplement and see if we could save her money. And so I had her look at what it says on there. It says, you may be billed.
Yes.
And that she went to the doctor, and yes, it has on there what they billed, the Medicare, but what Medicare will actually pay.
Come on.
And then it has the leftover. The leftover is the 20%. And so that was only like $16.10.
Yes.
That's not a lot of money.
No, and especially not for someone coming off a group plan.
I pay more than that at Whataburger.
That's so true.
To go through the
Don't
line.
even start on Five Guys.
Yeah.
But that's so true.
Yeah.
So what most people don't understand, they're coming off a group plan. They're used to paying, you get an MRI done, $500 to $1,000.
Yeah.
You get an ultrasound done, $300 to $700.
You have deductibles over $3,000, $5,000 out of pocket.
6,
that you have
7,
to pay.
8, 9's the
We don't
norm.
ever think about that on group health. We just do it. We just pay it.
Correct. And traditional Medicare comes onto the scene with a high deductible, for instance, a max exposure that's probably significantly lower than you've had your whole working career, with significant lower out-of-pockets than you're used to. Almost exclusively. So to give you some examples, and then we'll talk about that plan.
Yeah.
Once you've met your Part B deductible, and you can find all this on Medicare.gov, but really your agent should be able to walk you through it. If you want to get an MRI, I can tell you right now, an MRI on the spinal column with contrast, after you've met your Part B deductible, it's less than $50 out of pocket. So do you know how many MRIs you would need to meet that $2,870 out of pocket? A lot of them. Oh, well, 10 of them's 500, 100 of them's 5,000. So somewhere half of 100.
Yeah. Even this client that I had today, we looked through hers, and we had her look through, and I sat on the phone with her while she added all of this up. So in a 6-month time period, and then she looked at last year. Last year she spent under $500. If she didn't have the supplement, she would have spent $500 out of her pocket. It's not a lot.
That's not a lot.
And she had medical tests done and everything.
Because her supplement premium was a lot more than $500 for the year. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Which we'll touch on too, because I do believe in Medicare supplements, obviously. An X-ray, I was looking at chest X-ray today. After your Part B deductible, it's $4. On a group plan, you're paying $100 for a chest X-ray.
Now, granted, I'm going to clarify. It always depends on what type of X-ray it is.
Yeah, chest X-ray, $4.
Yeah. So chest X-ray.
Yeah. Just a radiological exam. You know, you're
black
not
and white.
spending. Yeah. The reason you take a Medicare supplement is not because you need an MRI done. You take a Medicare supplement because according to the ACA, 1 out of every 2 people by the time they're 65 will have a diagnosis of internal cancer.
Yeah.
And traditional Medicare A and B has no maximum exposure, and you could dumb this down for me, no cap on how much someone can bill you to anything Part B. So that 20%, there's no cap on it. Where your group plan, you got that max out of pocket you're used to. Traditional Medicare by itself has no max.
Nope.
And when you're looking...
So it can break you.
Correct.
It can break your finances. It can break your retirement and everything. And so that's a whole other conversation of why we fill in little gaps like that with cancer plans, things like that.
Yes, absolutely. For pennies on the dollar.
Yes.
But so the value of the Medicare supplement is because you may have never been sick in your life, but at some point something's coming.
Protect yourself.
Unless we're Moses, we don't get healthier as we age. That's usually not the norm, right?
Yeah, our bodies get... we just have to take care of our bodies, as we age.
That's a good word. So cancer, dialysis, organ transplant, stem cell transplant, these are reasons we take Medicare supplements. And that high deductible is not bad, $30-$40 a month in most average zip codes. And it's only got a max exposure of $28.70. So that plan's really built for someone who lives a healthier lifestyle, can afford to take on that risk of $28.70 for $1 to $1.25 a day.
And a lot of people, and I know you're going to talk about the innovative Plan G, but even coming from group health, a lot of people, the objections, let's talk about, is they're still worried about that exposure.
Sure.
But you really have to explain. They have to, and that's what I was doing, today, to giving this woman a picture of what Medicare, what her supplement actually pays on that. So explain what the innovative Plan G is.
Yes, so this is unique. It's a patented Medicare supplement that no other carrier in the nation can offer, right? Physicians Mutual patented this plan 17 years ago. In my opinion, it should be the most popular plan in the nation. So let me explain it to you. The way it works is this. It's essentially a Plan G that has a rider attached to it. Okay, it's called the Innovative or Hybrid Rider, depending on your state. It's how the Department of Insurance makes us word it. The way it works, it starts out as a high deductible. So it's a high deductible G for 3 calendar years. Or another way to word it, for 2 policy anniversaries, it's a high deductible G. So if you started the plan August 1st of 25, August 1st of 26 is 1 policy anniversary. Been on the plan 1 year. August 1st of 27 is your 2nd policy anniversary. Been on the plan 2 years. January 1st, following that 2nd policy anniversary, so it'd be 1/1/28 if you started this year. That rider on the Plan G, the Innovative G, the high deductible portion of it falls off, disappears, it vanishes. It goes away forever.
And then what happens?
But you maintain a premium discount that's anywhere from 20 to 40% cheaper than our standard Plan G premium. And you maintain that discount for life. So essentially you're buying a Plan G that grows in health as you, it grows in coverage as you age and usually become sicker the further you go out or the older you get.
So it helps stabilize your rate increases.
It's correct.
Over time. You can't lock it in. You can never lock in a premium.
No carrier locks in premiums.
No, but you can help stabilize it by that first 3 years getting in there. Because, we talked about this, is that typically the first 3 years you're healthier.
Yes.
When you're on Medicare.
That's correct.
So,
2 more things to it. The first is this. Let me ask you a question as a really smart broker. Would you agree with me? Well, let me ask you, would you agree with me? Then I'll give you some questions. Okay. Would you agree with me? The more claims that are on a plan, the higher that plan raises their rates because they've got more claims experience.
Right.
Okay. So can you see then the value in a plan that sick people don't take? It's the healthiest, block, and maybe we can explain block. It's the healthiest block of Plan G business in the nation because it's got that deductible up front. Sick people, if they're given an option, and I'm not trying to say sick people, but you get what I mean. Someone who has cancer, someone who has dialysis, major diabetes.
Right. They have health issues.
They're going to take a policy like a Plan G that has the lowest out-of-pocket possible,
right?
Because they know they need the most comprehensive coverage.
So we're going back to that thing. It's not necessarily for everyone.
Correct.
There's not a cookie cutter plan for everyone. You have to evaluate the person, their situation, and if they are appropriate for it. But I will say this, it is a viable option.
Yes.
For someone very healthy that wants to, that understands about rate increases, knowing that supplements will increase over time. And they don't have to understand the whole business world and the insurance jargon or anything. They are going to go up, but it helps stabilize it, make me understand that not as high.
Yeah. So they need to understand that this Plan G is the healthiest Plan G of all the Plan Gs in the nation because sick people stay away from it. So if you had a hospital, and let's say this is going to be the opposite of making sense, but hopefully you can go with me.
I'll help you.
Let's say you had a hospital, and the more sick patients that came to your hospital, the worse you did, or the higher your rates had to be, okay? Mm-hmm. Then you got another hospital where you have very few, if no, sick people coming to visit that hospital. Well, if you get paid for having a healthier group of people, well, the hospital over here with the least amount of sick people, they're thriving, they're growing because there's no claims for the hospital to have to pay for things. I know it's a poor, terrible example.
I mean, you may, the hospital that's treating more and more people, you've got to hire more and more employees. They need more and more money. Right. They have to hire more people to help. Correct. But the hospital that is healthy and you don't have to hire as many, so it doesn't cost them as much.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you for spinning that in my favor. And one of the also unique things about the plan is this. At any point, whether you have a bad diagnosis, God forbid cancer, or you just get cold feet, you have a guaranteed issue right with no underwriting at any point.
No
We're the
health
only
questions.
carrier in the nation that allows this with no health questions to cancel that innovative rider, and we will move you to a standard traditional Plan G with no underwriting at any point.
Yep.
So the value of that then is it allows your clients or your members or you as the enrollee to try the plan before you fully commit to it. Mm-hmm. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
So I do think, it is a definite viable option. It's something I like the name of it, the innovative, because it's new and it's different. It's not like your standard G, but I hope that, what time is it? We have really talked a lot.
We're zooming.
I want to make sure that we cover all of our options here. So I do think it's a viable option.
Yes.
And I really do like it, I think, when you break it down, your out of pocket is still less than what you were on a group health plan. More than likely. Yeah. More than likely.
Correct.
So did we talk about what are some of the misperceptions that people may have about a Medicare supplement? I think we touched on that.
Yeah. So a lot of people on Medicare supplements, they don't understand. Just like a lot of people very rarely do you run into someone who's on Medicare really even knows what they have. Most seniors, most members on Medicare, especially if they're using a broker, just want to know that they feel safe, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's the goal of a broker's job.
Security.
To communicate to the client security and how to have that.
Security.
So one of the misconceptions about a Medicare supplement is that it's a Medicare Advantage plan.
Right. And every year for my clients, we do we revisit what kind of coverage they have.
Excellent.
So we do education every year of this is the type of plan you enrolled in, because we live life and we just go on and we don't know what we have and we forget and things are being paid for and you don't know how it covers you. So we revisit what is a Medicare supplement, how does it work with Medicare, and how does it cover you?
Yeah, correct.
That sort of thing.
And now with Medicare supplements, excluding a really rare one type called a Medicare Select, the enrollment periods for a Medicare supplement are at any point. You don't have to wait for certain times of the year to leave a Medicare supplement, and you don't have to wait for certain times of the year to join a Medicare supplement. It's at any point.
Right. So let me kind of dig down into that.
Yes.
You can change in the state of Texas.
Yes.
Any time of the year.
On a Medicare supplement.
So a lot
That's
of people think, a misperception is that they have to change that supplement or review it during the annual enrollment period.
Because they're used to it on their group plan.
They're used to that, and they're also used to drug plans. They know that you can change something in the annual enrollment period.
Yes.
But seriously, for a Medicare supplement, so we do that in my agency, we do that all throughout the year.
Every day.
We're evaluating all throughout the year people's Medicare supplements. The Medicare annual enrollment period is really for Advantage changes and drug plan changes.
Correct.
And then there's also another enrollment period. So if someone has an Advantage and they decided they want to go back and they get a supplement.
Yes.
So they can't get off. So just to explain a little bit, they can't get off of a Medicare Advantage any time of the year and get a supplement.
You're stuck.
You can't do that.
Even if your doctor leaves, you're stuck.
Yeah, and you cannot have a supplement and an Advantage plan.
Correct.
You cannot have both.
It's either or, not both.
Either or. So, but if someone during the annual enrollment period, they have a Medicare Advantage and they want this Medicare supplement, they can get it during the annual enrollment period. It will start on January 1st, but there is that question of do you
subject to
qualify?
underwriting.
Yeah, do you qualify for a Medicare supplement?
Yeah. And it's not as bad as life insurance where you might have to give blood. You don't have to give
but
blood
you
to
have
get a
to
Medicare
answer.
supplement.
I know those questions backwards and forwards, and you have got to be in really good health.
It's true.
And you can take medicines, but they cannot be any high risk medicines.
True.
They're very comprehensive, and when you do an underwritten supplement, you have to sign off a HIPAA release, and you give authorization for that company, like you, to open up their medical record.
Backgrounds.
Okay, so you could get denied. So that is a misperception, not just of beneficiaries, but of healthcare providers in general.
Yes.
You know, and because I will say this, is that sometimes it is easier navigation in the healthcare system with a Medicare supplement, just because Medicare is the primary payer and they're not having to go through an insurance carrier. But not everybody will qualify.
Correct.
For a Medicare supplement.
If they wait.
If they wait, so you need to, your health matters.
Yes.
Once you're on a supplement after 6 months of being on Medicare. Yeah. That's when your health matters.
Can you imagine if you owned a Ferrari? Because our bodies are Ferraris, right? I mean, let's make ourselves like something really nice. You own a Ferrari, you're driving down the road and you hit a deer, okay? And then you call your auto insurance, say, hey, I need to take full coverage. And your auto insurance, you tell them you hit a deer, and they won't do it. Doesn't make sense. It's the same thing you run into in this arena. It's interesting that a Medicare supplement, you're subject to underwriting. But you're not subject to underwriting with a Medicare Advantage plan.
That's right.
You can always come back to a Medicare Advantage plan. You can't always take a Medicare supplement,
right?
Which is a unique thing about Medicare supplements.
But it's
makes a statement.
It's very important to be very, very well educated.
Absolutely. Because whatever you choose may be what you're in for the rest of your life.
So I guess I'll close with this because we've talked almost a full hour on this. So I'm a broker, and I can explain why you definitely need to use a broker like myself, and you're a carrier.
Sure.
And so why should somebody use a broker?
Yeah.
Someone that is, well-versed in Medicare supplements, even Medicare Advantage, even just Medicare in general, just has had the training. And so why would you think, and why would you encourage someone that comes across your path, work with someone experienced?
So I'm going to purposely use hard language here, okay? But I think it'll make sense.
Okay.
So why would I recommend a broker instead of my own self-education? Though I believe every senior should use self-education. They should be on YouTube. They should be on podcasts listening like this. Here's why in my experience. Most people that are self-educated know enough to not know what they don't know. Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
They think they know, but they know enough to not know. So if you can't communicate to me loss ratios claims ratios, 65% after your third year for the DOI filings that you have to maintain.
That's a bunch of jargon.
Yeah, exactly. If you can't communicate charter underwriters, charter rotation strategies, if you can't communicate language like that to me, then there's nothing wrong. You're just ignorant of the situation.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You need an agent who's like Nicole, that has dedicated your life to this topic, because you're not going to learn this in a week. You're not going to learn this in 3 months, your IEP for enrolling in Medicare. What took me a decade, I can't take my head off and put it on the head of a 65-year-old in 3 months. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So because of these kinds of things, you need help from another side who's not charging you $1.
Right. And I look at it this way, is that, you have some really good self-educators out there. And I've got some really good clients. Read
as many
super
books
smart.
as you want.
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
But they still use me, and they want verification.
Yeah.
We're going back to that word of security.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of what one of my purposes is, when someone leaves my presence after they are trying to find out about Medicare, is that they leave feeling secure about their options.
And you know how I know it's about security and not just education? I lost a client one time that I did great education to, because their hairdresser recommended they take a different plan.
But they felt more secure with the hairdresser.
That's what I'm saying. Their hairdresser has no idea about Medicare other than what they're.
But they believed him. They knew them.
So
they liked him, and they trusted them. They did not like you.
It is what it is. Listen, I'm not for everybody, and I'm okay with that.
Well, I appreciate you driving up all the way from Fort Worth to talk with me, and I hope this was helpful. I believe it will be to a lot of people. So thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next time on the Morgan Medicare Minute.